Hello and welcome back, guys. Today, we'll be diving into the sci-fi action film titled Men in Black 3. Without further ado, make sure to sit back and relax. The third movie kicks off with a woman approaching a cell to visit an inmate, bringing in a cake. It is scanned and given the all clear. The guards then escort the woman to a massive vault-looking cell where we're introduced to a deadly prisoner named Boris the animal. The guards there cannot stand it. He has a visitor and so go to ruin the cake, only for a creature to grab the guard's hand and kill him as well as his partner. It then breaks all of Boris's shackles before crawling into his hand. Multiple screws then attempt to stop the prison break but are shot at and killed by Boris. The entire facility immediately goes into lockdown when all armored guards get ready for a fight. Once Boris makes his way in, all guards have their weapons trained on him until he blasts a massive hole in the roof, sucking out all the guards and also deciding to let his woman be killed in the process. Once outside the Lunar Max Correctional Center, Boris says he wants to rewrite history on Earth. Jay uses the neuralizer on the civilians that just saw a spaceship landing. Kay wants to know who was driving the spaceship, and as the duo grab a takeaway kebab, Jay stresses out on the speech Kay will be giving tonight on Zed's passing after working together over 40 years. Once the time is right, Kay jumps on the stand to say that he worked with Zed for 40 years and the man never invited him to his house or shared any personal details. In the end, Jay is appalled at the pathetic speech, and Agent O takes to the stand to give an even more useless speech. As the night continues, Jay just stares at Kay and makes him promise to say something decent if he passes away first. He also wants to know how Kay becomes so docile and what caused him to be so not human, but gets another politician response from him. At a store, Boris approaches a man named Jeffrey and tells him his father mentioned him in prison and that he wants a device to go back in time and kill the man that took his arm. Later on, the duo head to a Chinese restaurant to meet up with Wu. They head to the back and discover that Wu has been selling illegal foods to humans. Kay releases some anger out on the man before going to have a sit-down. Quickly enough, he notices multiple aliens around him and that something is very wrong. When O tells him that Boris the animal was the man on the ship from earlier, he immediately tells Jay to get ready. Within seconds, the duo is forced to flip a table and incinerate an alien thug before Kay joins in and kills a few more. While Kay goes to the kitchen and gets attacked, Jay is surrounded by multiple aliens and is forced to fight back. Kay, meanwhile, kills his attacker and sees that Wu has been killed by Boris. As Jay gets attacked from the illegal fish from earlier, he uses the gills to kill the fish from the inside out. On the roof, Kay confronts Boris, who tells him he's thought about how Kay blew off his arm every single day for 40 years. Kay laughs at how he is the last remaining Bogladite, which triggers an attack, only for Jay to save him. The duo are then shot off the roof and barely make it to the ground alive while Boris makes it known that Kay is already dead. Sometime later, cleanup teams arrive at the scene, and Kay tells his partner he should have killed Boris and not imprisoned him all those years ago. But it doesn't matter since Jay is off the case, as this is a personal matter. Jay doesn't handle that too well but nonetheless is suspended for 2 weeks at headquarters. Jay discovers Boris the animal is a Bogladite assassin who annihilates worlds for a living and was the only suspect in a series of alien murders committed on Earth. Agent K was the man who arrested Boris in Florida and was the creator of the ArcNet defense system, which led to the death of all remaining Bogladites. However, the access is soon restricted, and Agent O approaches Jay to tell him she's known K for some time and that some things must remain hidden. At home, Jay kicks back on some PlayStation when his phone rings. Surprisingly, Kay is on the line and tells him regret is the strongest weapon he knows and wants to open up to Jay but doesn't find the courage to do so. After grabbing one of the best weapons he has, Kay aims it at his door until he disappears. Just as Jay feels very sick, weird things start happening, and Jay goes to Kay's house to find a woman and multiple children there instead. At headquarters, Jay is confronted by an agent he has never seen before who tells him thanks for yesterday. Confused, he asks around to discover that was Agent DAA and that no one has ever heard of Agent K before. Agent O approaches him and asks how he knows of Agent K, only to show him that he has been dead for over 40 years. Jay is confused beyond compare and also discovers that Boris the animal had killed him. He makes O believe that K was with him last night by providing details only specific to him. When Jay gets handed the chocolate milk he asked for earlier, Agent O panics and says he's been bitten by a creature, which she disproves by slapping him. She then tells him he is involved in a break in the timeline, and love for chocolate milk is a symptom. She continues by saying only one man has invented time travel before, and out of nowhere the system sounds off and warns them of an impending Bogladite attack as there is no ArcNet defense system. Agent O tells Jay he needs to find the son of the man who created the time machine and go back in time to save Kay from being killed months at Jeffrey's store. Jay quickly gets the rundown on when and where Boris was sent. Jeffrey agrees to help since the planet is about to be destroyed. In Jay, he lets him know he wants to kill Boris a couple of days before Kay was killed. Jay is then presented the time machine and the two go really high up in the sky. Jeffrey gives him a rundown and mentions that he and Kay cannot interact with each other. Once told he needs to jump off the building for the device to work, Jay freaks out and is also told if he loses the device he will be stuck in 1969. As the aliens start destroying the Earth, Jay is forced to trigger the device and jump off the building. While falling down, an alien hits the device out of his hand, fortunately managing to grab it again. He continues his fall and presses the button for a green light to show him some dinosaurs, then take him high above New York as it gets constructed, seeing everything in lifetime. He stops millimeters away from the ground and is yanked back to the roof where everything finally stops. Not believing what just happened, he continues to the elevator where he approaches a man who was fearful for his life, remembering 1969 probably wasn't the best time for people like him in America. He continues his mission and decides to outright steal a rich man's car, heading to the fair where the first alien was killed. Boris rides a weird-looking bike looking for his prey. As you'd expect from a man like Jay, he is pulled over for having such a nice car, and the copper there asks him what he does for work. Jay puts it on both of them for being straight racist but does confess to stealing the car from the cop's wife. Being detained, the morons decide to press the neuralizer, and Jay puts it on them because you see, a black man driving in a nice car does not mean it's stolen. At the fair, Boris questions Roman about the Ārķin and is told the humans will get the ArcNet. This results in Roman's death, which Jay hears and rushes to the murder scene. Spotting Boris, he aims his gun at him, only for Kay to stop him and knock him out. Once Jay awakens, he is at headquarters being stared down by Kay, who questions how he knows his name. Jay acts dumb and tries making a complete lie to not destroy the timeline. However, he is easily caught out, and funnily enough, Agent O comes into the picture, which Jay recognizes. Once she leaves, Kay says he can leave after an eye exam but was also lying. He goes to place Jay inside a massive neuralizer as the machine spins him around. Jay quickly speaks and tries convincing Kay to stop the machine. He gets there by saying to kill Boris tomorrow and do not spare him. As the machine shuts down, Kay wants some real answers, and Jay informs him that he is from the future and quickly gives the rundown on the situation. Kay agrees to help him kill Boris by tomorrow. Once the duo enter the car, Kay asks Jay what to do next, not really sure what to do. Jay remembers something about a factory, and Kay takes off, remembering a clue Roman left before dying. They arrive at a bowling alley, only for Jay to be handcuffed to the car while Kay goes inside. He tells two aliens he wants to see their boss, but a standoff quickly ensues. Jay stops it though, and Kay quickly rips off the other alien's head for Jay to use it as a bowling ball. Once the head comes back, they annoy the alien long enough for him to reveal where the boss is. Jay makes sure to land himself a spare before heading to the back. However, they discover the boss dead, obviously killed by Boris. Smartly enough, though, the DU will find another clue to look for the next alien target at a place called the factory. Once there, Jay is handed a normal pistol rather than a Techet outgunned. The two then make their way to an alien party where Mr. Warhol is interrupted and forcefully moved into private quarters, where he reveals himself to be Agent W. Jay is quickly told to go away as he is causing more harm than help. Once alone, Agent W tells Kay that if a killer were trying to kill a Glorian, he is instead most likely after the Ārķinon. Seems they are not extinct, and one washed ashore last week. His name is Griffin, and Jay witnesses firsthand how he is able to tell the future. W tells Kay that Griffin is a fifth-dimensional being and can live and visualize an infinite set of time-space probabilities simultaneously. Griffin then tells Jay that this outcome, which includes both the death of Roman and the killing at the bowling alley, has such a small chance of success. He then informs both agents of his planet's destruction and that the Boglodites can be stopped on Earth and starved before reaching the next planet, saying he has a gift for them for the next time they see him. He suddenly begins to stress out as he counts the seconds until Boris comes, which exactly turns out to be right. Once Boris has finished his kill and off in his motorcycle, Jay attempts to shoot him but is instead humiliated. Kay comes to his help, but Jay does not want it and tells him off as they keep failing one job after another. That night, the two relieve their stress by going to get some pie, believing it'll let them think better. Jay mentions how Griffin was talking about the game and thinks he knows where he is. With that, the two head to the nearest baseball park and make sure to load themselves before walking in. Quickly spotting the Ārķinon, he tells them to come watch the game with him, opening up a portal. They get to see how Griffin lives his life, able to see multiple futures that could arise from millions of different things that could happen in the past. He then gives the duo his gift, the ArcNet. Upset that his planet was destroyed by the Boglodites, he wants to help Earth any way possible. After calling himself a fool, Boris comes flying around the corner to snatch up Griffin and destroy the Me car. Kay then activates a device to reveal two very peculiar vehicles. The duo get on and chase Boris, while Boris attempts to get the ArcNet off Griffin. On the road, the duo are attacked, but they honestly drive exceptionally well. Boris then uses his slimy creature to take Griffin's box from his neck as K simultaneously mentions using a tactic to save the Arkin. J distracts Boris as K grabs Griffin and shoots the motorcycle, which causes it to fall and explode onto a wall. Problematically though, J notices the bike emitting weird flames, but Boris is nowhere to be seen. On a skyrise in the city, the Boris from the future finally arrives and immediately heads to his younger self who has been swindled, explaining everything that will happen in the future. Both Boglodites almost attack each other. Instead, the older Boris says all they need to do is kill Agent K. Griffin, in the meantime, reveals where he had hidden the ArcNet and puts it in a small device for the humans to use. However, it needs to be outside the atmosphere, which is when it'll show its true size. Coincidentally, it seems that the launch to the moon is on the same day, which will give them the opportunity to put the ArcNet in space. J, however, tells K he wants to finish the mission on his own and doesn't want him in Florida. K refuses to listen until he is told he is killed there by Boris. K gives J a couple punches to his head for lying to him, and once he stops, Griffin tells J that K must be the one to deploy and save Earth. J wants to know if there is a way to save his life, and Griffin informs him that where there is death, there is death. K informs his future partner that they'll have each other's backs and will be alright. The trio quickly head back to base and use an experimental device to get them to Florida in time for the rocket launch. Once strapped in, the two machines activate and take off at enormous speeds, quickly arriving at the takeoff site. The duo gets onto a road and are approached by army personnel. Griffin tells them the only outcome that will deploy the ArcNet is by telling the truth. Funnily enough, J tells the soldiers everything from MIB to their mission. Quickly arresting the trio, the colonel is called down. Within minutes, he arrives and is handed all equipment found on the intruders. The colonel asks for answers, and J gets to the truth once again, only to not be listened to. Griffin then touches the colonel and allows him to see multiple futures at once. Once completely understanding the situation, he dismisses the corporal, and his men escort the team to their next phase. Griffin tells J he isn't going and he's no longer needed. He warns him though, that once Boris loses his arm to go back to the future. As America and the entire world watch the rocket about to take off, the duo are taken to an elevator leading to the top of the rocket. On their way up, both J and K have a heart-to-heart with each other, with K telling his partner he is a good man. Out of nowhere, future Boris rips J out of the elevator and destroys his gun after chucking him off the edge, and believing this, K takes him. K reaches the rooftop and the top of the rocket, attempting to place the ArcNet. Younger Boris pushes him away, causing the device to be dropped. With 2 minutes until takeoff, future Boris goes to shoot at K until the building holding the rocket shifts and locks K's leg in place. J comes to his rescue though, and is once again shoved away as Boris goes to kill K. J calls him a one-armed animal, and this results in the same thing as before. However, J decides enough is enough and runs at Boris, who shoots him multiple times until they fall off the edge. J triggers the time machine, which stops the Mil-Lim-M from the ground and returns J to 1 minute earlier. This time he has the knowledge of how the shots are coming his way, and he dodges them and gives Boris an uppercut over the edge and to his death. K, meanwhile, shoots younger Boris's arm off and grabs the ArcNet. After placing the device, K jumps to a nearby ledge and goes sprinting as the rocket is about to take off. As future Boris is incinerated, the rocket shoots to the sky, and J has completed his mission with the ArcNet now protecting the world. The colonel is offered a spot inside MIB and says he wishes he could, when suddenly younger Boris appears and kills the colonel. Before K decides to kill him for good this time, as J watches, he understands what Griffin was saying when he said where there is death, there will always be death. Out of nowhere, a young kid comes from the car behind him, and it turns out to be the colonel's son. J cries, realizing he is that younger boy and that his father was killed to protect K. So, K promises the young kid he will look after him, and once he figures this won't work out, he neuralizes the boy and tells him his dad was a hero. J cries while watching this, eventually, returns back home. Immediately heading to the diner, he discovers K alive and well. Once he finds out everything is back in order, J reveals the watch his dad had given to him. He then thanks K, who gets emotional himself. Once the duo leave, Griffin is happy as he looks up at space for a satellite to come in the way of a meteor. The end. If you have enjoyed the recap, don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you, we'll see you in the next one.